Hello everyone, it's me Paul and I welcome you here on the 9th video tutorial about the transfer, which in simple words allows you to stop and keep your generation at certain point and start it from that point later on or on another computer. In the beginning, I'll show you how to use it in the standard traditional way, and then I'll show you how to use it with the reset, which is the new feature of this transfer function, and then I'll tell you in detail what you can do and what you cannot do during these transfer operations. Before we move on, and especially for those who are new here, please subscribe to this channel and click the bell to be notified about new video updates. And now let's get started. So as usual, I'll open the Gene 2.3 folder, and at first I will go to the user guide, and in the user guide in the beginning you can go just to the content, and under introduction is what is new, and the reset here is the new feature of the transfer function. And scrolling down you can see that the reset is just described right here, and it is also part of the transfer control box. There are things new what you can do and what you cannot do, what is changed and what is not, and the detailed description is directly in the chapter 4.13 transfer, which is under the functions right here. When you see here is the control panel, and there is the last chapter which is part of the start, in fact the quick start, and there is the brief description just how to do it quickly without need of big study. So under the start and chapter 2.6 is the transfer, and here you can see that you just need to check the check box for transfer, click the activation settings and start, and that's it. But I'd rather show you everything right now directly in the Gene, so you know exactly what you can do and how this works. So I hide it, and we can open the activated copy and the lottery number 1 that I prepared in advanced. So here you can see the situation when the generation is ended and stored in the last saved point. So what I want to do is to start it from that point and moving on from the generation. I also use the generator number 1 because this generator needs to use the seeds and swap numbers, which are these ones are the seed and these ones are the swap numbers, and there are also the last seed numbers and last swap numbers. The seeds are changed every cycle, so every new cycle you will get a new seeds, but the swap numbers are changed only in the case when the seeds are starting to repeat. So you mostly will see that they are the same. So we have also stored the last seed here. And now let's focus on the control panel for the transfer. As you've seen in the user guide, here is the transfer checkbox and also the reset checkbox. So you can just check the transfer right here, and you can check it also with transfer. But for the first demonstration I will not use the reset. But if you decide not to use the transfer but to use the keeper, you will cross the keeper and the transfer is disabled. If I'll have the transfer checked plus the reset and I'll cross the keeper, everything is here disabled like you see here. It means if you want to use the keeper, you cannot use the transfer and the reset as well. But if you want to use the transfer, you cannot use the keeper. So these two functions are independent and they cannot work together at all because their purpose is completely different. If you will not cross anything like here and click the activation, everything will be cleared and ready for new generation, and it might easily happen to you. If this will be this case or your case, it's easy to cure it. Just close the gene without saving, reopen it, and then do not forget to cross the transfer like here. Furthermore, if I cross the reset, the transfer is checked automatically. If I disable the transfer, the reset is also unchecked automatically because they are related together. If the transfer is here, then it can be with reset and without reset, like you see here. And now let's see how it works in this simplest way. So I described everything what you can do here, how it's related to the keeper and to the situation when nothing is crossed. And let's focus on a few things. The first is that when I cross it simply without reset, I can just click the activation and you see it's now frozen, so you cannot now uncheck the transfer. If I cross the settings, now what you could see is that the last seeds are moved to the initial position, so the generation starts from this new or from the last seeds and they are taken as a new. So we are continuing from the last save point, and from this point we are continuing on the generation. So we are not interrupting the chain of the generated random numbers. And this works only for generator number 1. So it can keep the chain of random numbers which are generated. But if you use the generator number 2, which doesn't need to use the seeds and swaps, then it will not start from the last chain, but it will start from the different chain. But it's not fully under control, but in fact it's not much an issue or a problem, because you are still starting with a fresh new numbers generated, and you are still keeping everything what you got until now. So you had all the best results, and you are not losing anything. But it's just to be aware about the difference between generator number 1 and generator number 2. So then I am just easily clicking start and the generation is running, and still the transfer is disabled and not able to do anything at that time. And only when you finish the generation, then the compare, save and transfer is accessible. And the best way, if you need to finish your generation and start it later on because you have to do some other work, or you want to start it on a different computer, at work, at home, somewhere else, is the best way is just to cross it like I have it here and click the save. So you have saved the last seeds right here. You have saved the transfer is checked, and then I can easily continue. So settings and start, and you again can see that the last seeds were moved up and the last swaps were moved up as well, and they didn't change yet because these are still unique, but it still work like in a loop, like in a circle. And again I can start it. So that's how this works, and you can now see that this is very simple to use it, and this is very useful for you as well. So the generation is now running. I will end it. Now I got the last seeds. What I will do, I can make the compare right here. So I can see the semi results, I can see the waves and the numbers which were matched, and I'll click the save. Now what I will do is just to close it, but before I do it, you can see that there is this date and time when it was saved, so you also know where the last saving was done. And in this case, as it was saved, I will close it and I'll reopen it right here. You can write in the Excel password. You can also see right here the date and the time when it was last stored. And the storage can happen even during autosave. So sometimes it can crash, so you just need to reopen the gene and start it over again. But never forget to cross the transfer. So now you see here we have the last saved point, and we can simply just continue like that, and it's now running. I can end it and I can repeat it infinitely as often as I need. Now just let's see what happens if I forget to do it. I'll click activation, and now everything is empty and you lost everything what you've done until now. But don't worry, as I mentioned, you just need to close it, clicking the cross, and click don't save. So I'll open again the folder, and you see the last save is at that point. I'll write the Excel password. And you see we got recovered from this last stored point. So it's really easy to work with this, and now it's time to show it how to use it with the reset new feature, because until now it was possible to use it till Gene 2.2 in the standard traditional way, and now let's work it on reset. Before I do anything, I'll just tell you what the reset is for and why it's useful. It might happen that you are not happy with the settings you've done and the generation is not producing good results or no results because this settings is too tough, it's so strong, and there are many other reasons. You might done some mistake in the input numbers, you might done some other things which you like to change, but you don't want to make this whole generation from the green ground newly. So it's about to store and save your time and to make it more convenient for you. So if I cross the reset here, it's about that then I can change certain things like the filter settings, the twister settings, the input numbers and more, which I'll describe them in detail. But now let's look what happens if I'll click the activation after reset. And still nothing happened, but now after setting, and now you see the seeds were kept, they are moved up, but all output boxes, all the results were cleared. So there is nothing in there, and now you have a opportunity and chance to change, for example, the filter settings. You can change the twister, you can change the numbers if you did some mistake, and much more, but this I'll describe in detail. And now when you did that, you are basically starting the generation from the beginning. So I just click the start, and you see I changed the twister, I changed the filter settings, I changed the numbers because I did probably some mistake, and now we are getting new results and new wave. So that's how simple it works with the transfer and the reset new feature. And you can also see when it's running, you see that it's frozen and you cannot change it then during the generation. Only at the end, again, you can change if you want to only continue the generation from the last start point, as is this the standard traditional way, or you see that there is again something wrong with this, then I'll go here. I have some last seeds, so this is what is kept, and I'll click the reset, and you can see these last seeds were moved up, so they are kept. So I'm not interrupting the chain of random numbers which were generated, but I am clearing everything before I am even starting. So that's everything you need to know about the transfer using in the standard way without the reset and also with the reset. And I hope I told you everything you need to know. And maybe one more thing, if I click the reset right here and I click compare, and you see I got marked the match numbers, also the waves are here, the mark. There are not many results right here, but also I got the numbers in the sorter. And if I'll apply the reset again, click the activation settings, and you see when I did the settings, all the sorter was also cleared and all the waves and the comparison is also cleared, so there are no remains from that last results. Even the proof is empty right here. And furthermore, maybe I can show it even more is in this real way. So I can start the generation, and at this moment I will activate also the pulse and the record. So the record, the pulse started, record is now drawing the graph as it's running. So everything is running, and when I end it, so I have results, I'll make the compare, I'll get the sorter, I got the waves, everything is like here. Here is the record, here is the pulse, and when I keep the reset right here, I click activation, and after settings, everything is cleared right here. So this is really good feature to restart your generation if something is not good for you or doesn't look well. And that's basically this. About the keeper, which is not compatible with transfer, I will talk in the next upcoming video tutorial. And until now, it's all you need to know about the transfer and transfer with reset. But now it's also good to know what you can do and what you cannot do during these transfer operations, because some changes can have impacts. And I will jump to the user guide right now, and I will describe everything in detail. So it's recommended to watch this part as well, but on the other hand, it's not as necessary as the part where I showed how to set it up, how to use it, and how this works. So I'll put the gene beside the user guide, so it's it's everything much clearer for you, and maybe for me, because every tutorial means that I learn something which I basically I might forget. But now let's see. Here is the transfer in chapter 2. Yeah, and now I have to make the window smaller because somehow I lost. I'll go to content and to chapter 4.14. And there are things what you can do and what you cannot do. So let's take the first classic way without the reset, where it's this way. I'll uncheck it, and here is what is important to learn right here. What can be modified and what happens during transfer function. So I'll take it point by point from A to the end. So before, you can change the filter settings. It means if it's too tough, you can delete it or whatever. So this you can change, and you have to change it before, let's say, before you click the start. So in this phase, you can change it. I'll put number 1, number 2, here number 1, and that's what you can do. You can also change the numbers of draw for number 1 and draw 2 in the input box. So this is what you can change right here, these numbers, and also if the lottery has 2 drawing machines, you can change it right here. Furthermore, what you can change is the point C, and I'll show it right here. You can change the seats, and if I am right, you can change it in the good time. So let me write here the seats. So this is the way I'll put them as the last seats, and probably it will not work right here because yes, it works. And you see these last seats were uploaded to the initial seats, like I wrote them here. And the same way I can do it with the swap numbers. So I'll show it to you again, but now I got an error, and probably the reason was as I did a lot of different operations. So I will not store it, and I will reopen it right here again. So again, if something like that happens, just do not store it and reopen it without saving. And let me see, if we click the activation, then I have these seats, but to avoid to using them, I would use some different seats like these ones. I would use also different swaps numbers. So there might be reasons, and I click the settings and just focus on the seats and swaps, and they are now uploaded as the initial ones, and from these seats the generation will continue. So now I'm starting this and the generator is running. So that's about the last seats 1 and 2, and only in the case of generator number 1. So if we use the generator number 2, which doesn't need the seats as I mentioned, it's not at all controlled or needed. Then the last swaps I also shown that they were changed if I end it, or it was ended. Let me click the, and I'll start it. Now we can see there are the last swaps which were produced are now changed and they are uploaded. So that's about the last swaps. Then you can activate the recuperation or make it bigger. So in case there is 0, the recuperation is now 7, but you can change it to 0 or whatever before starting this this generation, and latest before start the button. So that's what you can change, the recuperation. And just in the G, I like to explain one thing. I hope it will be clear. If not, I recommend to read it and focus on the text right there, because I make it a little shortcut and just simply to understand somehow its relation, because sometimes the generator it runs in loops, but if it will not get over the filter, it starts from the 4th position or different position, but sometimes it's not finished. And it might happen when you use the transfer that you will lose some part of the sequence, very small tiny part, maybe a little bit bigger, just a few draws, but it's just about to be aware. And it means that there is only in case of generator number 1, the transfer can cause small cut where a few numbers for comparison can be lost. This is normally no problem, and you can ignore the cut as it is worthless compared with the whole amount of generation process. It happens when it takes seeds from the end or somewhere in the middle of the field and moves them to the first column, where the comparison starts with the first column and not with the column where it was ended. So it takes the seeds from some column where it was not ended and moving them to the first column, and that's where the loss is happening. And the size of the move is the size of the cut. Only the way how to avoid the cut is to activate monitoring of the draws and seeds just before the end. So it basically means if this you will put the monitoring and you have to stop it just before the end, then you will avoid the cut. But and it means the size, only the way how to avoid the cut is to activate monitoring of the draws and seeds just before the end. Then we manually put the seeds from the first column of the monitor result box to the seed 1, seed 2. Yeah, that's what is described on the picture. And we manually put seeds from the last. Okay, basically what we can do is that we have to focus when the monitoring is running. Maybe I can show it right here. So let's start it. And the monitoring is running, and you have, but in order to do it just during the settings, you have to have chosen also the seed number 1 and 2, that it's part of the optional info in the monitoring as well. That's why that's the way how you can see the seeds, and there are running right here. So every sequence has its own seeds, and you can see it's changing only till the point where it can get over the filter. So now as the filter is here, it's harder to get over 2 matches. So sometimes it's still not getting over, and when it gets over, all the seeds are changing here. So let me pause this right here. And I also, what I mention here is that I can use, if I want to start the sequence from that last generated thing, and here this is the number of seeds, or the number of cycles is smaller than this one, then I can take these seeds. So I'll take these seeds as it's smaller. So this is the evidence that it's a new, let's say, new sequence. So I'm sure that it ran more than one draw. Then I'll take these seeds, I'll copy them, and I'll put them to the last seeds. But I'll do it because I will just end it, and I'll put them, because you see the last seeds were taken this, if I am right, let me see, the monitoring 212 370. So it was taken 212, but this one 533. So in fact it took this and this seed, so it's not finished sequence. So what I can do to really continue without interruption, keeping that, copy them right here and just copy them here. Now remember, just 6153, and I'll click activation and settings, and you see 6153 are now used for the generation. So we are starting basically from this sequence and on, and we are not losing anything. So now it's running without loss. And that's what I wanted to show you, and I needed to focus on it right here. So it's described in this picture, and if you have only lottery with only one drawing machine, you will just take care about the seed number 1. But in other lotteries with 2 drawing machines, you focus on these 2 things. So that's how this works and what can happen. I recommend, if you will be really detailed about this, just focus on that and stop it in the right time, and then copy these seeds. The other modifications, as mentioned at point H, are not possible, and they can cause fall of the program or its strange behavior, and mainly incorrect output results. So that's about usage, the changes during the transfer operations. But now let me talk about the usage, or what you can do when the reset is applied. And at first we already shown how to use it, it was demonstrated, but now there is this important chapter, and I will describe that and show it step by step. So at first, the following items are retained, and it's similar with without the reset. So let me show that. So all the printed boxes, it means all the interface is always retained and it cannot be changed. So if you want to have the longer history or longer predictions or more output results, the transfer and reset will not help you and will not work for you. in that case you have to start a new generation over. So all the printed boxes, it means the filter, twister, input and output boxes. So here we are. This is the filter box, twister, input, and all the output boxes are kept. Also the all numbers, I forgot mention here, also the printed box is for the proof function, like right here. So it's kept. And let me demonstrate it just straightforward, so you can see by your eyes everything is kept right here. Then all numbers in the input box, you can see that all the numbers were not deleted, they are kept here. Also for the filter and twister, they are kept here as well, and you can change them. And the last seed and swap numbers, as I mentioned and showed before, these last seeds are kept and then moved up now in this phase, or it's ended. When it's ended, I hope there is a so that's I can start right here. I have new sequence. So these are the last seed and swaps. So the following items are cleared. So these are all the results. I mean, these ones are all the results in all output boxes. So if all of them are filled with results, there will be cleared. Then the hit graph is cleared. So let's see. Yeah. So it's cleared. Then the record and pulse data graph are cleared. So this area is cleared, and this area as well. Mark waves and numbers in compare, as I presented. You can see it's running. We are getting more results. I'll click the compare. So the compare is cleared, and sorted numbers and associated comments and proof results. So let me demonstrate it again. We have this sorted numbers, we have this waves mark here, and the proof is filled with numbers. And if I click activation settings, now it's empty. The proof is empty, the sorter is empty, and the marked waves and marked mesh numbers are not marked anymore. With reset, the following parameters cannot be changed, and also without reset it's relevant as well. So if I'll end the generation and click activation, you see that you cannot change the language, you cannot change the skin, you cannot change the lottery, generator, rating, mode, order, and disorder. So that's the complete line that cannot be changed. So if you need those changes, you will have to start a new generation again. But if you do not want to lose, for example, the input numbers, then you can use the keeper, which will be described in the next video tutorial, and it was already described in the quick start, and not the quick start, but what is new tutorial, and in the deep walkthrough tutorial. And then count of previews and future lots, it means you cannot change the length of these previous draws and of the future lots. And finally, the position and size of all printed boxes. It means the initial position is given by these two coordinates, 29, 2. This cannot be changed, and then the number of results It's like at this moment is the number is equal to number 3. So that's what you cannot change, and it's not only relevant to reset but also to transfer as well. So that's all I needed to show you, and is good to know in detail what you can do and what you cannot do with the transfer and with the reset part of the transfer. And I am at the end of this tutorial. I hope I didn't forget to explain everything. It was quite comprehensive. I thank you for your attention and for watching, and I hope you find it useful and easy to use, and I believe you will use it correctly as needed. And see you in the next upcoming video tutorial about the keeper. Until that, have a great time and goodbye.